Hello everyone, and welcome back to today's Nugget. It's Monday's lesson, and the author draws our attention to this idea of what do you do when it seems as if God has answered your prayer, and what you end up with, is a bitter disappointment. Think about this for a moment. Here you are, and you have this great need. It's not a want, but a very real need. And who do you turn to with your great need? Well, if you're like most people, you turn to God. So here you are, you're turning to God and you've prayed, you've hoped for, and you've expressed faith and belief. In other words, you've done everything you know to do. So much so that when you see what you believe to be a sign, you follow it. And then one day, you come to a place and hallelujah, it looks like God has answered your prayer. And then you find out that the thing that was supposed to bless you, in fact, is something that, you can't even use. And this can leave us with a very bitter disappointment. This is exactly what happened to the children of Israel. They're in the wilderness, and what they need is water. Without it, they're going to die. So they pray. They plead. They make their case known, and then they follow the cloud to where it leads, and it leads them to water. Hallelujah, God has answered their prayer. Or has He? One sip of the water, and the people quickly found out that this water was not fit to drink. Their great need was water, and when they turned to God, He led them to a source of water they couldn't drink. They had to be thinking that this has to be some sort of cruel joke. And the thought begins to run through their minds that this shepherd is the butcher. God, you brought us out here to kill us. As a matter of fact, the next time God leads them, it's to a place where there's no water at all. It's a place called Rephidim, and this time the people cry out, "Is God for us or not?" And this is the great question that needs to be asked. Is God for us or not? Satan always tried to convince us that God is against us. He convinced 1/3 of the angels that God was against them. He convinced our first parents that God was against them. And when we encounter a bitter disappointment, Satan tempts us to believe that in those moments that God is against us. Maybe it's something we've done, some sin we've committed on our part, and now God is making us pay. But notice, Israel was led to Marah and Rephidim, and the only way they were there was because of God. And in their disappointment, did the children of Israel question God's intentions? Of course they did. You see, it's easy to trust in God and believe in God when the blessings are flowing. The true test of Christian maturity is when we have an unfailing faith in God, even when our hopes become bitter disappointments. But as we've seen in those moments of bitter disappointment, that the greatest miracles take place. After all, we're still talking about a God who can make water flow from a rock. And that was our lesson for today. Again, thank you for joining us. God bless. I'll see you tomorrow.